Hello and welcome to another edition of NISOD's Vodcast. My name is Coral Noonan-Terry and I am the Associate Director of the National Institute for Staff and Organizational Development. And this is an informal conversation with leaders and practitioners in the field. And I am delighted to be joined by three outstanding educators. We have Vali Siadat, who's a distinguished professor and chair of chemistry at Richard J. Daley College. Mathematics, I'm sorry. Mathematics at Richard J. Daley College in Illinois. And then we have Eugenia Paulus, who's from North Hennepin Community College in Minnesota, and she is a chemistry professor. And then we have Elena Blyfield, who's the Dean of Science, Math, and Health Careers, also at North Hennepin Community College in Minnesota. Thanks so much for joining us today. And I'd like to acknowledge that Vali and Eugenia both are NISOD Excellence Award recipients, and they also are Carnegie Foundation Teachers of the Year. Vali is the Illinois Professor of the Year for the Carnegie Foundation back in 2005, and Eugenia is a 2008 Carnegie Foundation U.S. Community Colleges Professor of the Year. And Elena is also a distinguished administrator as well. So glad to have you here. These outstanding educators have 75 years of combined experience in the field of education, so we want to learn from them about their advice and tips and strategies for teaching and learning in the classroom. So let's start with you, Vali. What have you noticed are the changes between when you started teaching and now?
Well, there are actually two changes. One is in the pedagogy, the other one is the technology. When I started teaching, the only thing I knew about teaching was to lecture, and the only technology available at that time was calculators, which were not accessible to everybody. But through the years of teaching, I have changed a lot, and now my pedagogy is not just lecture. I vary my teaching techniques from lecture to classroom discussions and cooperative learning group work with students. I try to use frequent assessment of student learning and give them frequent feedbacks, and I also try to develop the mastery of the subject matter. And as far as technology is concerned, we are using state-of-the-art technology to support the teaching effort by creating practically infinite number of algorithmically generated problems in the quizzes and tests, by getting immediate feedback and by managing the time that the students spend on difficult problems. So I think we have come to advance our teaching techniques and use of technology quite a bit since early 1980s when I started teaching.
Eugenia, what changes have you noticed in the classroom since you started?
First of all, let me thank you, Coral, for your kind introduction. I have noticed three major changes over my teaching career. When I first started teaching about 27 years ago, there was no technology as we know it today. We used transparencies, and nowadays I don't think even OHPs are available anymore. But the growth of technology is probably the most significant change. Another change is that students are more competitive nowadays since admission to programs are more competitive. And lastly, 27 years ago, a student chose a career, came in for a course, was instructed. Today, when they walk into your classroom, they have perhaps had several career changes before that. So they have a diversity of skills, professional experiences that they come into the classroom with.
And Elena, you have been a dean for about 3 years. Have you noticed any major changes during that time period?
Yes, I have. In the short time that I've been dean, I've seen students change. They've certainly come in with the idea of emerging adulthood. Things are changing for them. Some of them don't even understand what it's about to be in college. So I spend a lot of time coaching students, a lot of high-touch interventions, helping them understand college and what it's all about, maybe coaching them on how to talk to an instructor. So a lot more hands-on work with the students.
Thank you. I'm sure our audience and viewers are very interested in learning now about the challenges that you face. What are some of the challenges and how do you overcome them?
One of the challenges that I have faced and I'm trying to address is the challenge between covering a extensive curriculum that we have, and deepness of the topics that we want the students to have. So maintaining a balance between the two has been a big challenge. And I think that one way to overcome that, of course, is a better use of time management techniques, but also I think to get the students engaged in the learning process, which is so important for us to make sure they have their knowledge deepened, is to have them engage in the classroom. And one way to get student engagement in the classroom, I think, is to have the following the period of instruction. Let the students work together. Form groups of 4, let's say, and give them some assignment sheets, some worksheet, and let them work together, and then give them feedback, check their work after a period of time. And this way they get rewarded of the work they did, and also they deepen their knowledge because of interacting with each other, talking to each other. They deepen their knowledge of mathematics, for example. So I think that accomplishing that really accomplishes what every teacher wishes for, which is student engagement, and that's one way to address that issue.
Great. Eugenia, what challenges do you face?
Keeping abreast of technology and keeping a pace with the advances in subject area is indeed really challenging. And I think the best teachers for technology are the students who are in your class, so that the classroom then becomes a teaching learning arena or place where teaching and learning can be a simultaneous process. Keeping abreast of subject area takes place with a lot of the resources that are available online, as well as informal networking with colleagues and other members of the academic community. It also is a challenge to be able to make all the learners in your classroom have a good educational experience, be able to take something from your classroom when they leave, since they have such diverse skills and background when they come in.
And Elena, what have you noticed about what works in faculty members' classrooms?
As I've said before, I love going into faculty members' classrooms. It's the best part of my job. I love to see faculty at their best, doing interesting and innovative things. I have faculty that work with clickers to assess where students are at, whether or not they've understood the concept enough to move on, or whether it needs to be revisited further. I see faculty using sort of even low-tech things, very careful, simple, elegant ways to use markers in the classroom to show this part of the equation is here and it continues through this way by using the same colored marker. But I think the most important thing I see faculty do is really build relationships with students, and they're very clear about their expectations and what they want students to do, and I think the most successful teachers do that in whatever way possible.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're delighted to have you join us today. Thank you, Vali, Eugenia, and Elena. And I think Elena said it just right about making relationships with your students. And that's where the magic in the classroom actually begins, outside of the classroom, and making those relationships. Thanks again for viewing this podcast. We really appreciate it.